or Professor Baba sir, you can unmute RDL.
Yes, I made, sir. Arti, you can unmute.
No, she's not able to do so. You make her you also make her co-host.
Arti.
RTL.
Arti P or Arti L?
L.
Wait, madam, I think. Arti, what is the name she entered here? Arti.
ARATHI.
ARATHI.
Yeah, her number is roll number 2.
That is not mentioned, sir. ARATHIL.
That is only one Arti is coming. That is Arti A is coming. That's why I'm asking.
No, sir. It is there. I can't. I am not co-host, so I can't make her co-host.
You are a co-host, madam.
So no, only host can make a co-host.
You are the co-host.
No, host only can make her co-host.
I will make.
No, I can. Yes.
Yes.
So, Professor Marjan I. Bojaje, sir's experience spans 3 decades of rich and versatile exposure in several positions. Sir is currently the Chancellor, University American College, Skopje, North Macedonia. Sir has a PhD in strategy from Institute of Economics from SS Cyril and Methodius University, Skopje in 2005. Sir has a master's in science from SS Cyril and Methodius University, Skopje in 2000. As an experienced manager, armed with theoretical knowledge, Sir enjoyed teaching business courses, especially for graduate students. The subjects such as organizational behavior, leadership, and organizational alignment are all designed as a participant-centered learning courses. His specialty areas include leadership, organizational alignment, organizational culture, organizational behavior, strategy, and entrepreneurship. I now invite Sir to take over the session on leadership styles as a part of curriculum in practice. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So I can start now, right?
Yes.
Professor, you can start. Professor.
Okay. So first of all, I'm glad. Thank you very much for the university for inviting me. I'm really proud. We had a visit from your honorable university some month ago, I think, and we are very proud that we have both the ACBSP accreditation, and I hope to have more collaboration in the future. So what I'm going to ask, I'll do some lecture about some of the things we do in research, some of the things we do in teaching. And first I'm going to ask, I'm not sure if this is standard, but I'm going to ask students who feel free to open the cameras. The more cameras are open, then we feel more like we are in a real life setting than just looking in the monitors of content.
Okay, that would be fine. Dear students, as Professor wishes, whoever has, no issue of connectivity, you can just switch on your videos so that Professor will feel more, like interacting with people. Otherwise, he may speak. Feel like speaking to, the screen. So better that you can switch on your videos, but keep yourself muted so that there are no disturbances. You can switch on your videos. That will be fine.
Okay,
Yes, students, you can switch on your video. Switch on your video.
Thank you very much, Professor. And of course, then the second thing I'm going to ask the students, I believe in participant-centered teaching. Someone here is the diploma from Harvard I had in teaching participative courses, so I'm very proud of this. So feel free to ask questions or to participate. The more you participate is the better in the discussion, because I believe in the learning that the more we bring in the class, the more we'll get out of the class. Okay, we're waiting for a few more cameras, and then I'll just do one print screen for the okay, a few more cameras if can be turned on. So I'll do a print screen for our LinkedIn and Facebook account if this is okay with you, of course. So you should be now seeing my screen, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And I'm going to start with something which I plan to do at the end, but I will start now. And this is the following to understand the differences in different nations. So my question is, how would you pronounce my last name, and how how would you pronounce this is the brand of speakers from Denmark?
Same problem we faced. We decided to have the Bojo Divik.
Okay. Okay, the students, maybe some of the students, would you go with
Yes.
your
Some students you can tell. Parmila, unmute yourself, ma, and tell.
Okay, how would you pronounce this brand of speakers from Denmark?
Jamo.
How?
Jamo.
Jam. Okay. So actually, my name would be best pronounced if I use this Latin transcription, would be something like this. Whoop, sorry. My name is actually Boyadjiev, Boyadjiev. But our we use Cyrillic alphabet, so when you transcribe this into Latin, into English Latin, then it goes Boyadjiev, which is very complicated from pronunciation. If I put my name like this, you will probably read it Boyadjiev, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Jamo
And,
speakers, excuse
Your
me,
first name is actually Marian or
Marian, yes, Marian,
Marian.
which is
Marian.
which everybody teases me when I go. Yesterday I had class in Netherlands, and there everybody teases me because Marian is abbreviation of Mary Ann.
Yes,
Mother
yes.
Mary, right?
Mm.
They say, wow, it's very nice name, but for a girl, right? Marian is abbreviation of Mary Ann. And
Mary
let's say we call it in our country like the name day when we celebrate like the patron of the family is the day of Saint Mary, Mother Mary. It is 28th of August here. So this is when it's my, let's say, name day, but this is also the name day of everybody who is a female called Mariana, Maria, etc. And these speakers, you said Jamo, are actually called Yamo. So this is very interesting. Okay, now you have my translation of Boyadjiev into I forgot you plugged the phone. So you have my translation from Cyrillic to Latin, and it goes Boyadjiev. But in Denmark, the first alphabet is also the Latin alphabet, and they use the same letters, and it's still called Yamo, not Jamo. So what I'm trying to suggest here, dear students, is the following, that one of the things when we think in doing business globally is to understand these differences. And what are we trying to do at USCS? We are trying to expand on the Hofstede model. You've heard of Hofstede?
Hofstede, yeah.
Hofstede. Well, this is one of the so you call it Hofstede, and I also teach in Italy, and when I have Dutch students, I ask them about the pronunciation, and they call it Hofstede, not with sh but with s. So you're calling Hofstede. So one of the things we are trying to build now is we are adding another dimension in the Hofstede model, which is called communication. And this is our 9th dimension. And to be honest, so far we haven't had any research in India, so maybe this is a good start. Here are some results. And we are just about to publish the first paper. So you see, we had these 10 countries, which is Sweden, Japan, China, UK, US, Russia, Italy, here on the Balkans, North Macedonia, and Serbia, and Germany. So we are trying to measure communication, both verbal and non-verbal, so body talk and let's say verbal communication on 2 dimensions, which is professional and casual, and another dimension cold and warm. And we've come with this some of these results. Of course, I'm not going to take more time with explaining this paper, but what I'm going to ask you is maybe in the end of the class, of course, I will share this presentation. So when you have time tomorrow, after tomorrow, please film this form, and then maybe we at American College, alongside with your professors, we can develop one paper which will add India in the process. To be honest, we'll be very proud. So you've had Hofstad things so far, right? It was not, this was for the end of my deliberation, but I decided to start here. So can someone tell me what are the dimensions that Hofstad is talking about? Okay, guys, feel free. Unfortunately, I can't see the whole screen. So someone is running the chat. Aha, okay. This is not for me, I believe. Okay, someone to tell me which are the dimensions of Hofstad? 6 dimensions are the. Okay. No one? But guys, you must know this. Okay, the first dimension is called power distance. You've heard of this, right?
Yes.
Students? So
Students,
power-
you can unmute and
Yes, of course, everybody can answer. This is the.
yes, students, you can unmute.
So you can see here the difference. I've put here 4 countries, which is the maximum we can do on this Hofstad website. And those are Germany, India, North Macedonia, and United States. So you see, to be honest, India is a country of high power distance, but Macedonia is even higher. I would characterize this as a negative for society. This means that the society as a whole accepts big differences in terms of wealth, power, social status between members of the society. You see how low this is in United States and even lower in Germany. Would someone like to comment on this? Why is this happening? What is the story? Is this good or bad for the? Anyone?
Yes, students, you can unmute, Pa.
Yeah, feel free. Don't be afraid. It's interesting to get some.
They are having first time fear.
Okay, let me call the. These are the numbers.
Mm.
Okay, so maybe Amal Matthew.
Amal Matthew.
Albin Thomas.
Albin Thomas.
Wow. But
I
guys,
think-
don't be so shy.
They are.
Jervin Samuel.
Mm. Are those who are in Ishwari?
I'm not, I'm just trying to find someone online.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the dimension called power distance. The next is individualism versus collectivism. And you see, once again, let's call them similar results. So you see the level of individualism in the United States, huge. Basically, this is the model of, how to say, liberal capitalism. You provide for yourself, you take care of yourself. This is why people are allowed to take guns and unfortunately shoot people in schools like what happened yesterday. You take care of your pension, of your healthcare insurance, so the society has nothing to do with you. You see how low is this in Macedonia? To be honest, this is maybe comes from the tradition of 50 years living, 45 years living in the socialist system. I'm not sure, but there is this collectivism which is present here, and this is very something which is part of the national culture. Would someone maybe like to comment here on the individualism, collectivism of the Indian society? Your position somewhere in the middle here, 48. No? Okay, we continue with masculinity versus femininity. Let's see where, here the results are almost the same. So their masculinity is, once again, in Macedonia is the most feminine country, but there are not big differences. Uncertainty avoidance. So this is also a problem. This is kind of, for Macedonia, the score is extremely high. India is much better, to be honest. And if you ask me, this is very negative for my country because this reflects the extent that people feel threatened, but they also accept at the same time. So this is really conflicting dimension. And we come then to long-term versus short-term orientation. And you can see here the differences between, let's say, United States and Germany. So you have United States, which is extremely short-term oriented, where the profits are calculated, paid, bonuses are paid on a quarterly basis, versus Germany, which is a little bit more longer-term oriented. Even Macedonia is longer-term oriented. And of course, the longest orientation goes with China. And this is the fifth dimension of Hofstede, which was actually induced, kind of added to the first four after the rise of China as world superpower. Okay, the last dimensions was added in the last, I think, 10 years. And now this is the work of the son of the original Gerd Hofstede and one researcher from here, from neighboring country to us, from Bulgaria. His name is Menkov. So they have added one dimension, which is called indulgence, enjoying life. And once again, you see, so this is kind of complementary with the long-term versus short-term orientation. So you see, the more indulgence, the less long-term orientation, or the more indulgence, the less, the more short-term orientation. And this is basically the basic model of Hofstede. Okay, so what is your perception of the Hofstede model? Do you have any thoughts, good or bad? You probably studied this in the courses of management, international management somewhere, right? Do you think it's applicable for doing business?
Yes, students, you can also chat with him.
Yes, feel free.
Yes.
I mean, we are not grading, but in my class, you would be earning points if you talk more in class. If you are silent, then you have to come and take the test at the end of the term. Okay, anyone? Gagana?
Gagna, you can
Gagna?
chat. If you are unable to speak, you can chat. No issues.
Yes, of course. This is also issues. Okay. Well, if no one wants to speak,
Yes, yes.
continue.
Let them, they will start slowly.
Okay. Oh, who has the Behringer keyboard? Prince. Prince, will you join me?
Friends,
They cannot unmute
Okay, can
students,
can
someone
chat,
unmute them
so
maybe?
they can chat. You can use the chat.
mm. Amir, you can, how to make them unmute? They can unmute, madam.
They are telling they are not able to unmute.
I have given permission to unmute and speak.
Okay, now you try Parmala or somebody else. Just try
Prince, can you
unmuting.
see my Prince? Can you see my Behringer keyboard?
Yes. Friends,
Well, maybe you can unmute them. Then it's better, huh?
yes. Friends,
Prince, can you see my Behringer keyboard? Exactly the same. Okay, can we maybe unmute everyone, right?
They are not able to unmute, sir.
Can you do Dr. Jita?
Yeah, I will try. I will ask them to check.
Ah, I can ask to unmute. Huh?
Baba sir, can you make them all unmute?
Yes, I make them unmute, madam, already.
I think unless they are co-hosts, they cannot unmute.
Oh, they logged like that, I think so.
Hmm. Okay, they can chat. You can kindly use the chat.
Please rename yourself with your phone. This is Jita.
Yes, Snega or somebody you can. Yes,
You can use the chat for communication.
No, they can mute. Gino,
No, sir. The students are putting message that they are not able to unmute.
they are unmuting.
No, they
Gino,
are not.
Gino,
So no, sir. They are not able to unmute.
Okay, can someone unmute them or? It would be much more dynamic, to be honest.
yes, I made us. They can speak. Allow participants to unmute themselves. I made it.
So it says host is not allowing participants to unmute themselves. So you unmute whoever wants to talk, kindly raise your hand. We will unmute them.
You can say Snega.
Okay, Sneha, okay.
Snega.
Sneha, please, what do you think about the Hofstad model?
Yes, I made. Donna. Ishwari. You can unmute and speak. Where is our Parimala? Now check whether you can speak.
Okay, no problem. I will continue. And then, I mean, if you can admit the participants, fantastic. If not, once again, if someone wants to check, but please let me know if someone is chatting, because I will not be able to see if I'm
Yes.
if I'm sharing the screen, of course. Okay, so Hofstede has this dimension. Of course, they have kind of limited research validity, but a lot of practical validity in business. And our team here at American College is trying to work something into add two more dimensions, actually three, with the communication. And the first two dimensions are linked with entrepreneurship. So we believe it's very important to have a strong entrepreneurial orientation in the national climate. And there are countries which are extremely successful, such as, of course, United States, which started this. Now India is emerging as a huge power, China also. And there is famous joke in Europe which says, which is the most entrepreneurial nation in Europe? And then you think a bit and you say, Israel. Why? Because actually Europe is very bureaucratic environment there. It's very fragmented, many small countries, different languages, a lot of regulations which are hard to overcome. And this is a really big issue. So entrepreneurial orientation and valuing entrepreneurship, like a general term, like valuing entrepreneurship as a profession, valuing entrepreneurship as a status position in society. We believe that this is very important. And now we actually, almost a year, we have been working on a paper, and we finally, it is going to be published now in April. We'll share with your professors. So if you'd like to read more about this, it has very nice insights. And here are some dimensions which we calculated. Now also we included India. So it has some levels on the fear of failure as addendum to Hofstede dimensions. So you see, let's say Germany and United States are the most encouraging in terms of entrepreneurial activities. This means that people are not afraid to fail. Means that failure is considered just a learning process, just improvement of yourself. Unfortunately, let's say also my country scores very low on this. India is quite good, to be honest, almost 50%. So it is very important to have a culture in the society which encourages failure, which encourages, which doesn't stigmatize bankruptcy, doesn't stigmatize failure of the business. Because many entrepreneurs have started and failed, and this is the way how the new businesses are growing. And this is, if you ask me, very important. So maybe in the future, we can also work on the papers which will include this. And 8th dimension talks about the status of entrepreneurs. What is their position? You know, you have in society, we have usually the position. Position is based on 3 things, which are education, formal position somewhere in the organization, and finally the money is earned. And you have, I don't know, medical doctors, cardiosurgeons are the top, some politicians, some top artists. So where do entrepreneurs stand on this? Of course, we have top stars like, I don't know, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, but they are just few and they do not represent the whole nation, of course. So here are some of the data, which are, this is secondary studies. So the results are taken from the Global Entrepreneurial Monitor. And you see, it is also very important. So there are studies, you see this Prague from 2011, which suggests that there is a level of positive correlation between people's willingness to start their own business and the appreciation of what they do. You see how, once again, how in America, this is very huge. So this is why in America, big firms like Apple and Google are considered entrepreneurial firms, not because they are small or new, because they are innovative, they are permanently opening themselves. So these are the 2 dimensions we are adding to the Hofstede model. And finally, we go to the communication with which we started. The difference in terms of research is that this part is our original research. So we've been collecting data, which was very painful, to be honest, through all these countries. And we believe that we will bring something new to the management science. Of course, if you help us with this research, it will be fantastic. So this was more about, let's say, values in the nation, right? So what's the difference, according to you, between organizational culture and national culture? Guys, any volunteer?
Yes, somebody post. You can unmute and speak. Angela Sebastian. Ishwari.
Okay, anyone?
Anyone you can unmute to.
So organizational culture would be preferring only what the organization would require, but then a national culture would be keeping in mind the whole society and the nation and all together.
Okay, how does organizational culture start? Who says the culture? How people learn culture? How do we understand it? How it is transferred from? Okay, of course, anyone else can reply, not only the young lady who was brave enough to start our discussion.
Yes, you can continue, Ma Parimla.
So culture is passed down through like, your family or your friends or your social group. So it's something which is passed down through the years.
Okay, well, family and friends, it's more like more related to national culture, to be honest. We are now talking about culture in your firm, maybe at your university, but in general, yes. So it is emerging somehow. Okay, anyone else?
So maybe the organization culture, if you see, depending on the organization's goal, what they want to achieve. Based on that, it will be derived. And now they want their employees to behave, how everything will be taken from their leads. Maybe that.
Okay, excellent. Esha, can I add one more question? Who sets the culture? So you see me, I am at the office, I wear a tie, a jacket. This is one way of doing. The second way is to be more casual. Let's say in our university, jeans is forbidden for the employees. So what do you think? Who sets the culture? How the culture emerges? Who is creating the culture?
Maybe if you ask me, my superior who's there, from learning from him what's right and wrong, everything inculcates into the culture. And if you say about like how you present yourself, that is also a way of culture which we take from our leads.
Absolutely, yes. Super, thanks. So how you present yourself is very powerful. This is the way of doing things. Culture, the first guy who actually wrote about culture, and I don't have these slides, but I will add afterwards, it's called Edgar Schein from Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And he wrote few fantastic sentences saying the following. Culture in unspoken, unwritten way dictates how things are done in the organization. For instance, we have a crisis tomorrow. I don't know. There is no electricity at the building. Small crisis. So what are the options? We close down, or we continue with battery lights if the classes are in the evening and we have the classes. Or number 3, we continue something because of this. Or so the way things are done, which are not written, it is unspecific, and it is the way the people think. So remember a few things out of this class, please. First, culture is set by the leader, whoever is the leader, the founder, the big boss, the CEO. You cannot delegate culture formation. This is not HR thing. This is leader only. So you have fantastic things like, let's say the founder of IKEA, whose name I never recall, to be honest, but he's coming every day to work at 7 o'clock, drives old 20-year-old Datsun car, comes in a jumper at the office, doesn't wear a suit. So very practical, stingy way of doing things. You have culture of Ford, Gerald Ford, who started the first, how to say, the first big industrial firm, which was the Ford Motor Company. Hardworking, good looking, going to bed at 9 o'clock. He was checking, they built a huge settlement around the factory. Everybody was living there. So he was going at 9 o'clock to check if everybody is asleep. So completely crazy, but this was 100 years back. Culture is set by the big boss, unwritten, very powerful. And these are the things we need to understand, because it's the way people start thinking about organizing themselves in the firms. Sorry, I almost made a mistake to leave the meeting. It was not intentional. So I was just trying to present.
Yes,
it.
yes.
So, how is culture learned? Start is with the philosophy of founders, selection criteria. This is very powerful. Selection criteria. Have you heard of the company called Reckitt Benckiser? Guys, Reckitt Benckiser?
Yes.
Okay, students.
Yes, students. Okay, sir, you can proceed.
Okay, let us do the following with the students, maybe something more interesting. I hope there will be bigger interest here. So let us do the following. Let's assume that you are, you will finish in 1 year the master's program, right?
2 years.
Okay, so in 1 year you finish your program and there is opening of
No,
the...
in 2 years they finish.
Okay, 2 years, no. So there is opening in Bangalore. 3 firms come. Procter & Gamble, Unilever, or Reckitt Benckiser. And they offer the same amount of money. I'm not sure now what are the salaries in Bangalore, but I don't know. They say, I need a manager for the Bangalore area. Salary $1,000 plus bonuses. So where would you apply in out of these three firms? Now I can't see the screen, but maybe you can vote somehow so we see.
Yes. Three companies, all the three
Okay,
firms are in Bangalore.
how many would vote for Procter & Gamble, for instance?
As students, you can raise your hand or put it in that one. Procter and Gamble. How many of
Procter
you
and
are going to
Gamble.
vote for Procter and Gamble? Raise your hands.
So only 2 participants. Okay, out of 120 guys, what is the problem? The salary is too small.
Yes, now they are raising. You can use the raise button in Zoom.
Raise hand the best. This is when you can hit the head hand. So Procter & Gamble. Okay, 5 more seconds for Procter & Gamble. 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, it is growing, huh? But only 7 so far. Okay, 7 for Procter & Gamble. How many would go for Unilever? More or less the same industry.
Unilever.
Those who have raised your hands, remove it. Yeah.
Others can raise. Those who are supporting Unilever.
Unilever, we have more now. It's growing.
Mm.
7, 8.
Yes.
Oh, it seems to be much more popular than P&G.
Yes, yes, yes. Because in India, we are having Hindustan Unilever.
Okay, 5 more seconds for the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 17. Okay, so Unilever now leads. How many would go for Reckitt Benckiser? Four, 5.
Only 5.
Okay, so guys, besides the professors, have you heard of 7? Okay, have you heard of Reckitt Benckiser? Do you know anything about this firm?
Use the chat box.
In the chat box, let me check just a second. Just a second, please allow my technical. So in the chat box, where I can see the chat box, I need to stop share to
No,
understand.
no, no.
No, 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 no need. Students, you can speak also, unmute and speak.
Okay, so Sharon, right? Someone?
Yes, Ishwari.
Or Isha?
Not heard about the company. So, I mean,
You haven't heard about the company. Okay, so this is interesting. So the company Reckitt Benckiser, sorry, have you heard of Calgon?
Yes,
Anyone?
Colgan.
No, sir.
It is not a familiar brand in India.
It's not Vit?
Yeah, we did
Yes,
that.
sir.
It
yes,
is
sir.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Banish?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
That is the
Strepsil-
famous brand.
That's
Strepsils?
yes, sir.
Woolite
No.
or
No, sir.
washing or
No, sir.
something. So this is the strategy of these are all Reckitt Benckiser brand. You can see it somewhere in the small numbers, in small letters. So Reckitt Benckiser has very simple strategy. Power brands, and they're following this strategy for, I don't know, 20 plus years. So they have 17 brands. I've put here, what, 4 or 5 here, 17 brands, and no one knows about the firm. So don't be worried, it's not only in India. If you ask, I advise a student here in Skopje or in Rome, in Italy, it's always the same. No one has heard about the firm, but they are fantastic. This is their growth from 1999 till 2015. And if you go with if you compare their profitability to Procter & Gamble and Unilever, you will see that they're at least 20% overperforming. They are performing better. So they are very interesting because they are a merger. They are something which is kind of doing business in the 21st century. They are the pure example of globalization. They came out as a result of merger between Reckitt and Benckiser. One is Dutch, another is British firm. But they have this philosophy: we are not any country's company, we are truly multi-country company. So they say everybody who works for Reckitt Benckiser has a Reckitt Benckiser nationality. Official language is English everywhere, and they have there are no expatriates, and there is a single contract for everyone. So if you are a Reckitt Benckiser manager in Bangalore, in Skopje, or in London, you will have the same base salary. But then the bonuses are much different because they're same in percentages, of course, but the volume of sales in Bangalore is probably much bigger than in Skopje. So you can really make more money in terms of business. But they have this fantastic saying about organizational culture. So this is the word of their previous CEO, to be honest. Now it has been replaced 3-4 years back. But he says, I can tell in 3 minutes if someone would be a good fit for our company. And we'd rather have a position open for a long time, if necessary, than to put the wrong place to put the wrong person in the place. So they are very much worried about how newcomers are fitting the culture. And this is one of the most important things which Reckitt Benckiser is doing. And they are talking, of course, of culture as empowerment tool. You need less policies, procedures, you need less overseeing, you need less managers if you can do the culture. And then it is very important to have, if necessary, to start with coercion, with power tools to embed the culture in everybody's mind. And this is a quote here from Edgar Schein, who described this as a process of building the culture, and this is very, very important. This is very important for doing business in 21st century. So we learned how organizational culture, let's say, starts. It is symbolized to something which is called stories and rituals and material symbols. This is the opening ceremony or graduation. I'm not sure from our university, so I believe your university has the traditions of graduation where students come. So these are ceremonies where everybody who is a student is kind of embedded in people's culture, and embedded in the future of the organization. Language is very important. So in management, we use terms like KPIs, ROE, ROA, etc. And you kind of differentiate yourself from anyone else who is not in part of your profession. Medical doctors would start with congenital anomalies. Do you have colic abdominalis? So they start throwing these terms because this is the way how people as a social beings trying to differentiate themselves. There is, of course, something about the culture also coming from one of the most important thinkers in management, Clayton Christensen. So I'll tell you now a short, before we go to our model of organizational culture, I will tell just a short literature review of some others which are relevant. Here on the slides I have put, Hofstede has developed a model of organizational culture, which is not very famous, to be honest, here, the 6 dimensions. We have Denison Consultants, very interesting model, which is more for business consultancy purposes than for research. And then we have Competing Values Framework, which is very popular, to be honest. Originally designed by Cameron and Quinn, 2 American professors, and now it is hosted in Netherlands as a firm. And you have organizational culture on these 4 dimensions here: stability and control, flexibility and discretion. And there are 4 types of culture: hierarchy, market, adhocracy, and clan culture. Then there is Goffey and Jones, also, oh, sorry for the typo here. This is very popular. And Trompenaars, also Netherlands, a guy from 2000 something. And tada, we come to our model, which is called Vox Organizationis. It comes from the Latin word Vox Organizationis and is relevant to voice of the organization. So our suggestion is that we need to understand what are the leaders' value, culture, and maybe the formal part organization, and to have them all three aligned, and then we'll have a good and efficient organization. So, sorry, this is organizational culture in our definition. So we believe that organizational culture is an unwritten system of values and norms that determine interactions, behaviors, decision-making, and processes within the organization. And we've come to these 4 quadrants. So we believe that culture can be conservative autocracy, conservative or managerial autocracy, conservative or managerial democracy, like in the banks, for instance. Conservative autocracy is like in military. Then we have entrepreneurial autocracy, like firms like Apple, when it was managed by Steve Jobs. And finally, entrepreneurial democracy, firms like General Electric, for instance. And accordingly, we have the 4 leaders type. And we define leadership as a process of leader influence on followers, in which the latter voluntarily accepts stimulus from the former. So it is the process, the stimulus, and voluntary acceptance. And we have the 4 leaders type, which are corresponding to the previous culture type. So we have army officer for conservative autocracy, the banker for conservative democracy, Steve Jobs for conservative, for entrepreneurial autocracy, and Jack Welch for entrepreneurial democracy. So these are the 4 dimensions by which we measure, and maybe we can ask some of you to do a research on this. In India, we haven't done so far, to be honest. We have done in many countries here in Macedonia, in Italy, in Russia, in Arab, even in Turkey, in Côte d'Ivoire, etc. So maybe we can do now a short example. So, oh, sorry, I made a mistake. I still had to share screen. Oh. So sorry, if you go on your mobile phones to this site, www.menti.com, and type this number, 4630-8180. You should be able to start the research, which I have it here. Did you manage to go to menti.com?
So if
Yes,
you could show
students.
the code, sir, if you could show the code.
The code?
Yeah.
Sir, you can share the code in chat.
Yes. Just a second, sorry. Let's see how this will work. To be honest, this Menti surveys is something I've learned to do a few months back in Italy. I was frustrated. Some students started presenting and asking, "Bang, we'll do this, we'll do that," and I didn't understand what are they doing. But then I, of course, managed somehow the chat. Where is the chat? Here is the chat. Did you get the code? Yes.
Yes, I think. We are not received, sir.
Excuse me?
Yes, sir, we got it.
Now we go. Okay.
So you can start typing and let's see the results. You can all get the results from the vote, I think. To be honest, I'm using this for the first time in class. I'd be really happy if it works. I would just call my IT guy in terms of if something doesn't work well.
Yes, you can visit that one and tell.
So this is a shorter version of our questionnaire for determining organizational culture. Wow, fantastic. I put the presenting mode though.
Yes,
Seems-
students, are you able to go through that one?
Yeah, it seems that it worked. We have some response. Only 4 so far. So let's see how many will vote. This will be fantastic. Professors, we must do a research with this in India. Would be more than happy. I mean, not with Mentimeter actually, with the question.
Yes. Students, those who got the website address, you can post it in chat also, so that
Actually-
others can see.
I will now share. I forgot to share a screen. This is the
Mm.
sorry. I will now share the screen. You should see now the results as they're going.
Yes,
So far, we have 9 respondents. 10. Wow. This will be very interesting.
student, you can use that one. Menti.com and use the code that one.
Yes.
Train and share that code.
Okay, well, everybody would, I can maybe discuss a little bit some of the questions and see how does this work. So this is a shorter version of the questionnaire, as I said, just to have it for the online questionnaire. So the organization has clear rule of game. There is a trust when so this is refers to dimension of our instrument, which is based on autocratic or participative managerial style. These are the 4. This is the most important for the definition of managerial style, whether it's participative or autocratic. Then work environment, if it's cold or warm, organizational openness, and these 3 sub-elements are constituting the first part, which is democratic or autocratic organization. The last dimension, entrepreneurial orientation, is actually independent, and it stands for the level of risk that is accepted in the organization. And then we are getting, let's say, some results like this, which can be more or less detailed, etc. So we are still working on this project. Okay, let's see how are the results going on. Do we have some changes here? Okay, let's see how our results developing.
Students, you can.
Yes,
put
there are
it
more than
away.
60 that voted, but you can continue now, or if not, you can do it. It will be open in the next 24 hours. So everybody who wants to vote, then will have some interesting results here. Okay, so we continue with our class, and we'll continue with the presentation, of course, and you can, of course, finish the sentence, these things afterwards, and
Okay.
we understood what's the importance of culture. So, who is a leader according to you? Can students name 10 leaders? Okay, four is enough.
Students, you can poke, comment, you can unmute and speak. Who is a leader? You can speak your own words.
Yes, whoever wants, please.
Yes, Pranav, you can start.
Those who are unable to talk, at least use the chat.
Yes, please.
Yes, Dhanush, Rainad, they are chatting.
We have messages in the chat from the students.
Yes, okay, just a second.
Yeah.
Who leader? Leader is someone. No, I meant tell me a name. Just not the leader by definition. Tell me a name. So, do you think Gandhi is a leader?
Name some leaders.
Name,
Yes, name some
who are all
leaders.
the leaders you prefer? Name the leader. Okay, Abdul Kalam is the past president.
Name of the leaders.
Ranjit, you
Yes.
can mention name of the leader.
Sundar Pichai,
Hmm.
Narendra Modi,
Biden, okay. Martin Luther King, okay.
Yes, Ratan
Dhoni.
Tata, Anand Mahendra. These are Indian business tycoons.
Anand,
Adani from India. Tim Cook, you know.
Elon Musk, Nelson Mandela,
Tim Cook,
Sudha
Sundar
Murthy,
Pichai, Hitler. Angela Merkel.
Angela Merkel, okay. Who else? Andrew Tate.
Narayan Murthy.
Who is Narayan Murthy? Will help me with this.
He's the founder of Infosys.
Infosys.
Hey, this is fun. I had the privilege to listen to him at Harvard. He is
Yes,
fantastic guy, fantastic guy.
yes.
When he tells the story, how did they start
Yes.
in New York? They didn't
His
have.
son-in-law is the now Prime Minister of UK.
Who else?
Dhoni is a cricket player, MS Dhoni.
MS Dhoni. Cricket player.
Yes,
Former
He was
captain of
cricket.
former cricket captain of Indian team.
Okay.
Another person mentioned Virat Kohli is also a cricket player.
Rishi Sunak is also
Cricket
mentioned.
is very popular in India.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Messi, Lionel Messi. Somebody, Guru is mentioning Lionel Messi.
Joe Biden, we put already.
Joe Biden,
Cristiano Ronaldo. Okay.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Okay, that's enough. Thank you very much, students,
Yes,
for the.
that's enough.
So next question is, would you like to work for MS Dhoni or MS Johnny? How do you pronounce this?
Dhoni.
Dhoni. MS
So-
Dhoni.
What do you think? Okay, let me rephrase the question. What would you expect of your? Do you think Steve Jobs, was Steve Jobs a good leader?
Steve Jobs.
Answer in the chat box.
Hmm.
Was
Ibrahim
Steve Jobs?
Zlatan. Zlatan huge.
Yeah, chat messages are coming.
Yes, yes, Steve Jobs is a great leader who made iPhone a great brand. Yes, but he was not very kind to the employees. Thank you very much, Brainer, David. So the question is, whom would you like to work for? You said that someone said Steve Jobs made the great things for the firm, but was he? Would you like to work for Steve Jobs? Knowing that he was really
Yes, you can say yes or no. Steve Jobs.
someone says yes, someone says no. So what I'm saying is there is different in perception of many people being leaders. I don't know anything about MS Dhoni, to be honest. Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo are more like individual superstars, not really entrepreneurs. So it's really different to say what do we expect from our leaders. Right, so Steve Jobs is a good example. What would you expect from the person you will be working for? So tomorrow you graduate in 2 years from now. What do you expect? What would you like your leader, your boss to have as a personal characteristics? Enough to motivate people. Okay, excellent. What else? Motivate people.
Yes, you can post the answers.
Enough to motivate to get their best version of themselves. This is very powerful. This is very powerful what Rajit Kumara did. This is very powerful, to be very honest. Oh, I did. I'm not sure I can't copy this, but it says enough.
No, you can't copy it.
You can see from the chat. That's all.
Well, this is very powerful, to be honest. I wanted to teach something else, but I'll go to something which is more linked to what we've started now here as a discussion. And this is something I think that is of great value. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions. How can you be sure that you'll be happy in your career? Second, how will you be sure that your relationships with your spouse, family will become an enduring source of happiness? And third, how do you know you will stay out of jail? So think a little bit and we'll open the chat for these 3. First, happy in your career.
Please use the chat to communicate.
Yes, use the chat, please.
What is the question exactly?
How you'll be sure that you'll be
First,
happy?
how can
How
I
can you
be
be
sure that I will be happy in my career?
Yes.
Second, how can
Okay, we
I
start with
be
the first.
sure that my relationship with my spouse?
We started with the first one. We started with the first one.
Yes. First question is, how can I be sure that I will be happy in my career?
what you
As
should do for
students.
that?
Now, students, you can post the answer to the first one.
So chat messages have started coming.
Yes, just a second. Let me find them.
So the first message is like what you do, that will make you happy. Next is happiness in a career cannot be guaranteed.
Happiness through career.
Yes.
So most of them are told that to choose a passionate job. When I like something, then I'm happy at my job. So some said that if I have work-life balance, I will be happy.
And someone in the previous presentation, someone asked, what do you expect from your leader to make the best of yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Make the best of yourself. Okay. The second question was, how can we be sure
Your
that
screen is not visible.
Yes, sorry. 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 And thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
We got confused with so many.
Second is, I think, how can I be sure that my relationships with my spouse and my
Yes.
family become an enduring source of happiness?
Exactly.
Students, now you can post the answer. That is, how can I be sure that my relationships with my spouse and my family become an enduring source of happiness? You can post your own views in the chat. Yes, Brian had answered.
Someone said they also make more money here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, make more money. Work-life balance. Make more money to help.
Yes, students, you can answer. Start.
Yes, you can go to the second question. I believe that most of the students are not yet married, right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, most all of none is married.
Are married or not married?
Not married.
Not married. Okay.
Now they are all bachelors.
Spending time making both sides. Okay. Both sides. So this is equality. What else? Equal importance. Importance. Listen to your spouse and family. Okay. And the third question is, how do you know you'll stay out of jail?
How can I sure be out of jail? The third question is, how can I be sure I will stay out of jail?
Start answering. Integrity, being ethical.
Integrity, being ethical. What else?
Not indulging in unethical practices.
Not indulging in unethical practices.
Honesty and trust.
Trust.
Follow rules, follow law.
Don't get framed. This one is a good one. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, thank you very much, students. So we go to discuss these three things a little bit. So these three questions were originally posed by one fantastic guy. To be honest, I loved him. And unfortunately, he passed away very young with the start of COVID. His name is Clayton Christensen, and he was, if you Google him, he's considered to be the most influential management thinker in the last part of the 20th century. He wrote something which is called disruptive innovation. So he's very famous for change management. And in 2011, he wrote one article. No, he was asked to give, of course, he's a Harvard Business School professor. And he was, you see on the slide, Thinkers 50. So he was announced many times for being the most influential thinker, alongside with Chang Kim and Rene Moburn, who wrote the Blue Ocean Strategy. Anyhow, Clayton Christensen was asked by the school to give a lesson to his students. So these are a little bit older than you, to be honest. More like in America, graduate school is with 3 years of experience, 3-4 years. So these are like 26, 27 years. And they have started the job. They finished bachelor in, let's say, with 22, 23. Then they work 3-4 years and come to the graduate school. And more or less, they are not married like you today. So he gave these three questions, and then he told the story of his life. Says, I am a deeply religious man. I'm not sure what is the real congregation. It is some Christian, but I'm not sure which one. I think Mormon or something. I'm not really familiar with those Protestant options. And he says, I was asked, he was doing his master program in England at Oxford. He being very tall, he was playing for the basketball team. And then he was asked to do, he was asked to play on the basketball team on Sunday, the finals of the University League. He says, well, I'm not sure, my religion does not allow me to do anything on Sunday. And then everybody on the team says, but you're crazy, who will know, it is us, we are buddies, friends, we've been playing the whole year, it's now the big finale, etc. And he spent it last night, the whole evening before the game, contemplating about what will measure his life and about the future. And I will share this article with your professors. I believe that it will be available later on. So he wrote an article about this, spent the whole evening. He didn't sleep. He was thinking about the future. And what he suggests is basically to each and every student, more or less, you're close to your graduation, though it seems maybe far away to you, it's 2 years from now. But this is probably the last period in life to consider what will measure your lives. You graduate, you start working, you start families, and suddenly the life puts itself on a fast track. It's like everything goes very fast, like driving on a highway. Pew, pew, pew. You just hear the sound of the electricity towers all around you. You cannot see them, and this is moving faster and faster all around you. And then he could consider this, what to do with his life and whether to play or not. And he once again suggests, sorry, just to take some juice. It's more important to spend 1 or 2 or 1 month in these deliberations than to spend this 1 or 2 nights or 1 month on learning statistics or corporate finance. Eventually, you will learn these things, you will forget 2 months after you exit the university, but your decision about measuring life will be forever. So he spent that last evening, he was praying to the God, and next morning, and he come and said, I'm not playing. Everybody was crazy, but are you crazy? We should do this. Who will know? He says, but I will know. I want to hold my principles 100%. This is the important thing. So on the question, how do you know you'll be happy in your career? You go with short-term approach. Someone mentioned money earned, etc. But this is really short-term approach. This is not going to give value for the future. The second question, how do you know you'll be happy in your relationship with your spouse, wife, family? This is why I came back to this sentence from the previous question, and this is to make the best of yourself. To be honest, it's very similar, though it seems that we are talking about different things, but in profession, the responsibility of the leadership is to grow their followers, to make the best of their employees. It's the same in marriage. You'd be happy with someone who makes the best out of you, and vice versa. Your valuable partner in a relationship, it's two pillars are standing together and holding the house. If you both grow the other person and you make everything together. So the answer to the third question, how do you know you will stay out of jail? You say you hold integrity, I hold everything, etc. But can I ask you one question? Have you ever used in your life Office which is illegal or cracked version? Microsoft Office. Have you ever rode in the bus without paying the bus fare, or on the metro, or whatever is the public transport system in your city? Most likely, yes. So the idea is that we must be aware that it's not like the felony is small or big. Integrity is to stay. Someone says, keep your integrity. And this is very powerful and very true. But integrity is forever, and for small things and for bad things, there is no major difference. This is something which must be embedded in our personalities, and this is how we should make our decision. How shall we measure our life? Hold your principles. He says it's easier. He didn't play the basketball because he says it's easier to play basketball, not to play basketball and stay to your principles 100% than break them once, twice. So 91, 98, 99% is simply not enough. You're not man of integrity if you do not hold your principle completely. Humble. The more you know, the better you are, the more humble you should be. Because when you're humble, you walk with your eyes open, with your ears open. You can see you can get the stimuli for the environment. You can get everything. If you are showing off, pretending to be important, then you're not seeing what is happening around you. You're becoming a bad person. This is terrible. So, let me tell you a few things about me personally and how I decided I will measure my life. So I'm a professor. I'm very proud that in 2012, I received the award for the Teacher of the Year. Like your professor or the dean, I'm not really sure. Someone of the delegation who was a Skopje also received. So I'm very proud that I received this thing. And I like to teach very much. This is my, let's say, the most important part of my job. Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm also part of the management or the administration. And this is how my calendar looks like with all these red dots. So there are many things happening, and it's really sometimes complicated and stressful. I like research, and I'm very proud of some research we've done. So I have now more than 60 papers. This was a few years back. So I have more than 60 papers now. We patented this procedure for measuring organizational alignment. And this makes me, kind of fulfills me the whole story. In the free time, when I was young, when I was kid, I used to play keyboards. This is me here on the keyboard here the links of some of our songs. And 10 years back, now I'm 55, so if I was 45 then, we gathered all high school friends and we rearranged the band afterwards, and it was fantastic. You see, we've got some very good reviews on our Facebook page, etc. So we became part of the history of Macedonian rock and roll, and we are very proud of this thing. And when someone asks me, why do you teach? I say, I teach because I love it. Here, the first slide on the left is class in Rome. Now I'm teaching there 2 courses. One is entrepreneurial behavior, the second is strategy. So this was the first course when I started in 2018. I always have huge groups, more than 100. These are students during the COVID, of course, everything was online. Why do I teach? First of all, we have fantastic colleagues. I really hope that we'll put India on the map. These are my friends from Italy. We go very often there. This is my friend from Paris. So we are, you know, like Formula One. We usually start, this is a small town called Valmalenko in northern Italy. And we start with the doctoral school for doctoral students in entrepreneurship goes there. I also teach one course there. So we start usually, this is from last year in November, September in Valmalenko. Then in November, I always teach in Rome. In December, Luca, my good friend, comes here. In March, I go again to Rome. In April, now next month, I'm going to Paris teaching an ISG with Jean-Francois. Then in summer, our Academy of Management and European Academy of Management. So this is kind of always hanging around with good friends. And I really hope that with the professors who are here today in the class and who visited Skopje, will be more than happy to mingle together in the future. So Christensen said the meaning of life. He said, I've concluded that the metric by which God will assess my life isn't the dollars earned, but the individual people whose lives I've touched. Sorry. So he says, I think this is the way it works for us all. So don't be worried about individual prominence. Be worried about the impact you've made to the universe. Worry about the number of people you've managed to somehow influence positively or negatively. Here are some interesting guys. This is the father of modern entrepreneurship theory, Howard Stevenson. This is me 15 years back. I was in his class at Harvard. And he wrote one fantastic book called Just Enough. It is Laura Nash and Howard Stevenson. So more or less book like book, there are many things inside there. And finally, it ends with what will be the result of your life? He says, happiness, achievement, significance, and most of all, legacy. Not in terms of finances, but of course, in terms of what you will leave on this planet when you leave and you go to some other places. This guy, maybe some of you know, dear professors, it is Steve Pascal, the director of accreditation from ACBSP.
Yes.
And this is us. You know him, you have met him, right? And he has very interesting career. Being not very wealthy, he came from relatively poor families, so he joined the US Air Force. He was serving there for, I think, 12 years. He had bad luck to be his plane to crash down 3 times, and he survived. And afterwards, he got a scholarship, a military scholarship, and then he finished college and eventually master's degree, etc. And he started teaching. He is a deeply religious guy. Maybe some of their professors, maybe on the ACBS meetings, he's the one who says grace before the final dinner at the conference. And he thought that his mission on this planet is to teach students and make them better person. And then he was asked to join ACBSP. Very similar like Christensen, he spent this last evening in contemplating. And then he says, well, if I accept this job, then I can make many schools better, and then my impact on this planet will multiply. Instead of teaching 100 students, I can maybe make better 100 schools times 100 students. So my impact will go to 10,000 students on this planet, and then this is much better. So we come to once again to myself. So why do I teach if it takes 10% of my time, 20% of my workload, but absolutely the majority of job satisfaction? So I believe that our mission on this planet is to make our students better people, and then they can make the organizations better and eventually build better societies in the communities you live in. To be honest, this is kind of exclusive privilege for us as professors, but for you as a business students, it's very similar actually, because tomorrow eventually you'll become managers, and I hope you will manage to transform yourself from managers to leaders. And then as a leader, it's not your job about achieving individual success, but about growing your team. It's not about individual results, but about team results. And more or less, this is what all of us should do before graduating. So thanks to the professors for inviting me. Thanks for the students for listening. And if you ever come to Skopje, feel free to give us a call. I will share in the presentation all my contacts. So if you need any advice in the future, or I don't know, whatever you need, I'd be more than happy to assist you. Of course, if someone travels to Macedonia, we're a very small country. It's really hard to find us on the map. So we like 1.8 million people, but you're most welcome. So more or less, I would end here, I think. I hope that I was not too long with the whole story.
No, sir.
Thank you, Maran. Sir, here is there's one name called Maran. That is very famous name. Thank you, sir. I think students, now you can switch on your camera. We can have a group photo.
Okay, if someone wants maybe some question, I'd be more than...
Yes, if you are having questions also, you can post and switch on your camera. Yes, students, switch on your camera.
Professor Baba, afterwards I will rearrange the presentation about what we were discussing and send it to you alongside this paper of Clayton Christensen. I think it's very, very nice. And of course, if you'd be willing to, students, your colleagues, if you'd be willing to fulfill this questionnaire, it would be fantastic. Then we can work on the joint paper tomorrow for the communication issues between our two countries.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
We'll work out that one. I will share with you in the mail ID. We already identified your LinkedIn page.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yes, our students will connect with you today.
Thank you very much. Once again, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me. I hope I didn't take too much of your time, and hope to see you again. Maybe we could do some joint class next semester.
Yes,
Right.
sir. Students, once again, you can switch on your camera. I think who is taking? Angela, Sebastian, Parimala, you can take photos, ma.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for a wonderful session.
Thank you, Dr. Geta.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, students. We'll leave for today. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.